this is Mark Rodriguez. You're watching another episode of the Video Game Masters. And yes, Capcom has finally announced Street Fighter V is coming. Yes, guys, Street Fighter Part 5 is a reality. But it's only coming out for the PlayStation 4 and for PC gaming. So yes, if you have a PS4 or if you're a PC gamer, that's totally awesome. But if you have an Xbox One and only an Xbox One, you've been X-boned. And yes, I am surprised that something as big as Street Fighter is all of a sudden becoming console exclusive. Now, for example, something like Smash Brothers, you got Mario, Link, Donkey Kong, Metroid stuff. I mean, yeah, that makes sense that would only be for Nintendo system. You got PlayStation All-Stars, even the title says PlayStation. It makes sense it would only be made for the PS3 and not the Xbox. But guys, this is Street Fighter. I mean, there is just no reason. This is Street Fighter. I mean, I don't know. I just don't get it. But anyways, guys, today we're going to go back in time, kind of a similar subject. We're going to talk about a Street Fighter rated game that was only made for the Wii, and not for the Xbox or PS or whatever, only for the Wii. And we're talking about Tatsunoko versus Capcom, probably one of the strangest crossover games ever, because it was based on this company called Tatsunoko that makes anime of all these kind of old, kind of obscure anime that's way more popular, way more nostalgic for the people in Japan, but not so much for, us here in the States. And yeah, this is a game that people thought would never ever come to the States because all the licensing issues of who owns this and who owns that and who dubs and whatever. And yeah, it finally made it, and for whatever reason, only for the Wii. So come on, guys, let's all review this game together. And yeah, this is a scene where you guys kind of pop in. Rock Yarmas, Brian, Johnny, insert scene here, random clip of guest starring reviewer, hello. Okay, I guess I'm doing this by myself now, but whatever. Yeah, grab your Wiimotes, guys. We're going to go to the Nintendo Wii. We're going to talk about Tatsunoko versus Capcom. Let's check it out. Tatsunoko vs. Capcom brings the fires of the world of Capcom against several anime characters from series produced by the Tatsunoko company. Similar to the Marvel vs. Capcom series, you can form a tag team and you can switch partners whenever it's okay for your partner to assist. The only characters to fight alone and can't tag partners are the giant-sized Gold Lighten and the PTX-40A. The gameplay is similar to the Marvel vs. Capcom series with crazy air combos, assist moves, and screen-filling hyper combos. You can also do the team combos where both characters hit you with super moves at the same time. Being on the Wii, you can play the game with the classic controllers or the GameCube controllers to play the game normally. If you use the Wii mode, the controls are simplified and you can do the special moves and hyper combos just by pressing the buttons without doing the joystick motions. Two new features in the game are the Baroque combo, in which the character glows white for a few seconds and allows you to do longer combos, and the Mega Crash, a move where the character can raise an energy field for a second and knock the opponent away to give you some breathing space. These moves do wear out on your life bar and hyper bar, so use them carefully. The game has 22 characters to choose from. You can unlock 5 more by earning enough Zenny and buying them in the shop. Finish the game with enough Capcom characters, you can unlock Frank West and Zero. If you finish the game with enough Tatsunoko characters, you can unlock Tekkaman Blade and Joe the Condor. Finish the game with Frank, Zero, Tekkaman Blade, and Joe, and you can unlock Yatterman 2. Those are the good old days you could actually unlock hidden characters within the game instead of having to pay for DLC. The final boss is Yami, this giant orb thing from the Okami series. Like most Versus games, it's a huge screen-filling boss and it comes in 3 forms. And as always, it has at least one super cheap, super powered death move that can wipe out one of your fighters with a single blast. I mean, come on. Oh, come on, look. Oh, man, just look at that shit. I mean, damn. Anyways, Yami can be cheap, but he goes down easy against people with super energy blast related hyper combos like Ryu's Shinku Hadoken, for example. He's probably a lot trickier if you're not using a character with that kind of hyper combo. Alright guys, so now that we've seen the basic game, let's go a little deeper into who these Tatsunoko characters really are. Yeah, some of these characters have appeared in old anime that have been dubbed in the States in several years back in different names, you know, back during the Speed Racer era and whatever. And some of these guys have even been recently seen on Toonami. So let's take a closer look on exactly who these guys are and what animes and series they come from. Possibly the most well-known characters from the Tatsunoko side are the characters from the Science Ninja Team Gatchaman series, which are Ken the Eagle, June the Swan, and Joe the Condor. They were brought over to the States over the years under different names like Battle of the Planets, G-Force Guardians of Space, and Eagle Riders. They're basically a superhero team out to save the universe from an evil terrorist group called Galactor. Casshern is another more well-known character, especially with the most recent remake Casshern Sins that played on Toonami a couple years back, although that was a more darker version compared to the original. Casshern is a human turned android out to save the world from evil machines that are trying to take it over, and his little dog Brender joins him in the game. Tekkaman is from a series of the same name, and he's a space knight out to save the second Earth from disasters. Tekkaman Blade came from the sequel series that was called Technoman in the States. Polymer is from the Hurricane Polymer series, and he has a special suit that helps him fight crime and transform into vehicles. Ippatsuman comes from a series called Gyakugen Ippatsuman, and he's a robot out to stop a corrupt business organization called Skullies from ruling the world. Yatterman 1, Yatterman 2, and Duranjo are all from the Yatterman series, which is part of a kind of an anthology series called Time Volcan, and each series kind of follows the same general theme but with different characters. And one difference is that most of the series takes place with time travel and things like that. The Yatterman series doesn't have the characters actually travel through time. Gan-chan is Yatterman 1, and his girlfriend Ai-chan is Yatterman 2, and they have to stop Duranjo from getting the Skull Stone that reveals the largest deposit of gold in the world. Duranjo's henchmen accompany her on several attacks in the game. Bojaki is the thinner and smarter one, and Tonzura is the muscle of the group. These kinds of villains are the kind that would inspire Team Rocket, and although I'm not so sure, I do find it coincidental that Gohan and Videl from Dragon Ball Z also call themselves Great Saiyaman 1 and Great Saiyaman 2 when they become superheroes. Unless calling yourself whatever 1 and whatever 2 is something in Japan, I just don't get it. Maybe if Batman was made in Japan, Robin would have been called Batman 2. Karas comes from a 6-part OVA series. Otoha Yosuke is a former Yakuza turned hero out to save the city from an evil Karas named Echo. In this series, Karas are superpowered humans in a world dominated by humans and Japanese spirits called yokai. The giant-sized Gold Lighten comes from a series called Golden Warrior Gold Lighten, in which a giant robot is disguised as a golden Zippo lighter. Once a child named Hero finds and uses the lighter, the giant robot hero is unleashed. As for the Capcom side, well, everyone knows that Ryu, Chun-Li, and Alex are all coming from the Street Fighter games. Morgan, of course, comes from the Darkstalker series, Batu comes from Rival Schools, and Beautiful Joe comes from the game of the same name. Oddly enough, we have Mega Man Bolnut from the Mega Man Legend series, Ro from the classic 8-bit Mega Man series, and Zero from the Mega Man X series. Soki comes from Onimusha Dawn of Dreams. Frank West is from the Dead Rising series, and the PTX-40A is one of the vital suits found in Lost Planet Extreme Condition. Finally, Saki Kanebo comes, from all things, a dating sim game called Quiz Naniro Dreams. That's just the weirdest game to pull someone out of. Saki was also used as an assist character in the first Marvel vs. Capcom game, so it's not her first appearance. One thing I do have to say is that this case in the Capcom side, they probably used the biggest and widest variety of different fighters and not just a whole bunch of Street Fighters and Morrigan and someone else in there. Alright guys, so now it's time for my thoughts on the game, but before I start, I do have to specify that I only use the Wii mode for this game, and yes, like I said before, the controls are pretty simplified. You only have so many buttons to work with here, and you can do special moves just by mashing the buttons and all that. So it's not the same like using a GameCube controller or one of those classic retro controllers that kind of looks like a Super Nintendo controller that also works for the Wii. But offhand, the game does look pretty fast-paced and crazy. You can cancel your special moves into super special moves. You can do those crazy combos, so you can tag in and out during the combo and all that stuff, like the Marvel vs. Capcom games. But yes, if you guys have played a game with a GameCube controller or some controller with, with more buttons than this, and if it's not as responsive as the Wii mode, you can put your comments below, tell me your thoughts on how the game plays with another kind of controller. As for the game itself, I gotta say it's pretty awesome. I love the characters, I love the graphics. I love that everything is new and redrawn. They did not reuse the Capcom characters from other Versus games from before. I love the stages. I especially love how they grabbed the classic Street Fighter 2 Ryu rooftop stage and the Chun-Li stage, the the chicken market stage from the Street Fighter 2 also, and like completely redrew them all 3D, like from a different perspective, a different angle. It just looks so awesome. I love that. And the characters themselves, the characters are pretty awesome. I really love all the Tatsunoko characters. I don't really know them that much except for the characters from Battle of the Planets and Casshern, but I just love how they look. They're so awesome. They got awesome moves. I know that for fans of the anime, they'll recognize some of these moves as their classic, iconic special attacks and weapons in the series, but for me, they're all new, and they're so awesome. I mean, it's really a shame this game was not released for other systems besides the Wii. And I guess it's because for fear that the game would not sell well, because people would be saying, well, who the fuck is Tatsunoko? What are these guys? And stuff like that. But personally, I think the game plays wild and crazy enough, and the characters are so awesome. Their special moves and all their combos, all their abilities and everything is just so epic that the game would have probably still been good as a game itself. I mean, who cares if they're fighting against some unknown whatever? The game is awesome. It's fun. It's fast paced. I love seeing these characters transform into giant vehicles and giant mechs, and then you got the giant gold lighter fighting against one of those giant mechs from those games. I do love seeing these giant mech characters fight it out. I mean, what other game has that? No other Versus game has that feature. So it's just pretty cool. It's pretty awesome. I guess the only downside I gotta say about the game though is that I do wish they had some of the music, because most of these Versus games, they always got all these remix tunes based on the video games they came from, and it would just be that much more awesome if you hear like some awesome remix of Ryu's Street Fighter 2 theme when you fight on the rooftop, or Chun-Li's theme in her stage. And I do believe one of the stages is like Dimitri's Castle, or the love to hear Dimitri's theme, music from Mega Man X, and all that stuff. It would have been extra cool. I think the only theme you hear from any game is just when you fight the final boss. Some of the themes are from the Okami video game, so I think that's the only one. And I did hear rumors that apparently, I don't know if it was either in the Japanese version or just never made to the final cut, but some of the themes from the Tatsunoko characters were actually based on the intro themes and music from their shows and stuff like that. So of course they were cut or changed to avoid all the licensing issues. And speaking of licensing issues, I'm glad that they did release the game after all. It's a lot of fun, it's pretty cool, and I gotta say, as awesome as it sounds, I guess it's pretty good that they never made like a Shonen Jump versus Capcom, because that would have been a lot more hardcore with Naruto, Ichigo, Goku, Luffy, all those characters in the game. But due to licensing issues, it would have been a game that we probably never ever would have seen and everything. And yes, there are games called like Shonen Jump Superstars that have all these characters in it, and again, we never get to see them because of all the licensing issues of who owns the rights and all that. But yeah, but the bottom line is, this game is a lot of fun. It's only for the Wii. I guess they thought that it wouldn't sell that well on the Xbox or the PS, and I'm not really that aware how well this game sold, but it was pretty awesome because the Wii doesn't have that many classic fighting games as a whole, so it's pretty awesome to have this game into the mix. But yeah, so basically speaking, guys, that's the end of this episode of Video Game Masters. I think it kind of covered all my points here. And yes, let's hope the next episode we do have more people here. Like, come on, guys, don't leave me all alone here, But yeah, we'll see what happens in other episodes. We'll see what happens when Capcom reveals Street Fighter V. Maybe eventually they'll change their minds and bring it to the Xbox One or not. We'll find out. But either ways, this is Mark Rodriguez here. Thanks for watching, and catch you later.